Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the Brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants.
Welcome back to the Fort Worth 148 Masonic Podcast. We're your hosts. My name is Evve Kirkendall. I am a past master of Fort Worth 148 and the chaplain.
I am Brady Patton, current Worshipful Master of 148.
And I'm Cody Cox. I'm the current Senior Warden of Fort Worth Lodge number 148.
You've got some other titles too.
I have served as Secretary of Fort Worth Lodge number 148. I've served as Treasurer of Tarrant Lodge number 942, among other things, but I'm just a normal guy.
Thank you, brother.
Well, we are back, and some of you might have noticed that our sound quality is a little bit better. We are working on getting better sound equipment to increase the listening experience. I think that you're going to find this one is a little bit better. We're still going to continue playing with the sound and figuring out better ways to do it, but I think that this is a step in the right direction based on some of our tests that we've run going on so far. The first thing we want to talk about today is give you a little bit of an update on Masonicon. So we had a meeting on this past Monday to kind of hammer it out. And we'll talk a little bit about what went into that meeting later on in the podcast. But Brandy, why don't you update us on what happened?
So unfortunately, Masonicon, the original vision, it's kind of strayed away from that. And it's not sustainable in its current form. Not saying it's dead, but the current event we're not doing this year. We're going to reformat into a lodge family event on Saturday. Friday night, we're still going to still deciding. It's going to be kind of like the Cloud Campy event, just a fellowship event at the temple. Any members invited, any Masons invited. Don't know how big it's going to be, but we're flexible, so that's good. And then Saturday is going to be for our families and members. It's right by Thanksgiving, so. And basically, it wasn't sustainable in its current form, so we're going to cancel this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where the schedule got a little ahead of us. Like we talked about in our last episode, scheduling something at our temple. Many of you know that we're at the Fort Worth Masonic Temple in downtown. If we don't plan things like 2 years in advance and reserve those buildings, it's impossible for us to get a date. And even then that date might conflict with a whole bunch of other Masonic events. And that's why we ended up with a November event. And I mean, let's be honest, even our own lodge members didn't want to do something in the month of November. And once we got the date hammered down, it was just really difficult to get engagement. And so with the plans that we had, it just didn't really make a lot of sense to keep trying to throw good effort after bad to do that.
Extremely difficult with the lodge and the way it works with the officers, because the junior warden traditionally would be in charge of things like refreshment. Well, he changes every year. So unless you've got an outside committee that plans your events long term, it's really difficult. We're trying. We'll figure it out. But yeah, Masonicons are tough this time and place. Man, I don't know.
Yeah, and we've got some thoughts on that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
I was going to say we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I do want to encourage anybody that's listening, that's thinking of doing something, to be encouraged in the idea that you hear us talking about Masonicon and having to pivot, to know that be encouraged that if you're going to do an event and then towards the end you feel like you have to pivot, that's not a bad thing. There's going to be growth for that one.
Yeah, I don't think we're definitely not looking at it as a negative thing. We're looking at it as an opportunity to kind of get back to the roots of why we did this in the first place. And making a big event that attracted people from across the state was, I think, the icing, but it was never meant to be the cake. And for some reason, we started allowing it to kind of become the primary focus. The big event quality was the big focus, rather than doing something that we wanted to do.
It takes the entire lodge to put it on.
Yeah,
it's the
everybody has to be excited about
it's
it.
the production.
We need 20 people engaged working the entire event. And It's hard to get that.
And
So
it's hard to get it if not everybody is wanting to do it, or they're not as excited as the vision holders. So
we do have a huge event we're planning for 2030 for our 175th anniversary. So
stay tuned for that.
we got really big things coming way down the road.
That's a big one.
That's going to be a big one. We're excited about that.
I'll be a past master, not my problem.
Right.
I'll be involved, I'm sure.
You'll be involved, but you won't be the person dealing with the headache. That's somebody who's in the line right now. Dun, dun, dun. So the next segment we want to do today, we had this idea. We all three of us have things that we're really kind of nerdy and obsessed about. And we thought it would be kind of fun to have just like a brief moment to have like nerd time and to nerd out about some things that we are excited about. I know many of you out there have these hobbies or interests that you have. And I think it's important to share these things because you never know who's out there who shares your interests. So Brandy, why don't we start with you? What's your big nerd moment?
Well, conveniently, I'm wearing a shirt that represents it. Home brewing, not just home brewing, any kind of homemade spirits, which don't have to be alcoholic. But I'm wearing a Horseman of the Apocalypse Radgast Club of the Year shirt. We were the best Radagast brew club in the country. It's not by most points, it's by most points and like outreach, benefiting the community. But it's huge. I mean, it's a big deal. We're trying to get again this year and the other one, but yeah, home brewing, it's great. I brew probably 30 times a year. I enter about 10 different competitions.
What's your favorite thing to brew at home?
Mead. No, you don't really brew mead. It's easier and cleaner. A lot more skill involved with the post mixing of it because it's a wine. You have to stabilize it and you have to back sweeten. You have to put tannins in, acids in it. The investment, if you screw it up, is a whole lot more because honey costs a lot more than malt. Brewing wise, I love brewing saisons. They're easy and relatively inexpensive, and they come out great. And I've won the most medals with the saisons, but I won the German beers too.
Sounds like you've I know from having hung out with you and been part of the Shrine Brewing Club and all of these other things that you're doing, that you're this isn't something that like you're just hobbying about. This is borderline professional obsession. Like I think you could probably stop your regular life and do this if this was financially viable.
It's possible. With the right investors, I could. There's so much work at the production scale, though. It's really easy to make a great beer at 5 gallons. It's a lot harder to do it at 200 barrels and consistently. And back to the meat thing, if you mess that up, then you're out a lot of money. If I mess up a beer, I'm out $30.
Right.
$30,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, that's huge investment.
Not saying I couldn't do it, but I can't afford to work at what that job would pay for the next few years.
Right. That's true. So Cody, tell us about your nerd obsession. What's on your hobby list? Because you are a professional educator, so you get your summers off. So what have you been spending your time obsessed about this summer?
My summers are spent doing things that I don't have time to do during the actual like school year. So I've put up a pool at my house. I have built a small deck to get into that pool. I have redone the inside of my garage. So I'm kind of in DIY mode, which is great, except for I am a fat man that lives in Texas and I sweat like profusely. So the pool was necessary so that when I'm outside doing things, I get sweaty. I can just plunge right into the pool and cool off. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. The garage that we have at the house we had built because we wanted to have a place for our trucks, but we also wanted to have what we call a party pad. So I've taken time to redo the inside and all that kind of stuff so that when we have functions at our house, we have places for people to sit inside and have food served and things like that. So that's mainly what my summer's been, is just trying to get projects done around the house. So if we're talking, I don't want to say obsession, but what's on my mind right now is, of course, we're seeing all the back to school ads and things like that. And of course, that's sending me. This is going to be my 22nd year in public education, so it's kind of sending me spiraling. But I'm looking forward to seeing the kids again. For those of you out there that are listening, I taught high school for 19 years. And then I took a year off and it wasn't fulfilling. So I went back into education. I'm an 8th grade English teacher here in Fort Worth. So what I've recently been doing is looking at things that are going to kind of take me out of my comfort zone as a teacher to see like some newer ideas on classroom management or some newer ideas on seating arrangements and things like that, and just trying to challenge my brain a little bit on how to do something new this school year. So
yeah, it sounds like you're probably going to need to hang out with Brandy a little bit for some of those adult beverages that he brews, because from what I understand and from the conversations we've had about public education, it can be a little bit challenging, to say the least. So,
the very least.
Ironically, I joined the Shrine Homebrew Club because of Cody. So.
Listen, my influence knows no bounds.
Right. Well, for me, anybody who knows me knows that I have a lot of obsessions, and I think the one that I'm probably had the most influence on my obsession with fountain pens. I love fountain pens, but more especially, I love the inks that go into them, and I love the properties of them. There's several that I've collected that the ink itself has a unique property. Like, there's one ink I've got that you can't remove it from paper because it literally bonds to the cellulose in the paper. So it's completely tamper proof and you can't get it out of paper, even if no matter what, you'll destroy the paper before you destroy the ink. There's one that I'm using right now that I've got in my everyday carry pen that it was reverse engineered from a sample that was provided the ink manufacturer from Los Alamos during the Manhattan Project. And so it's a black ink they reverse engineered. So it's the same formula that was being used during the Manhattan Project. It doesn't have any like nuclear particles or anything like that in it. It's just a cool historical little fact. If you're interested, the name of that product is it's Noodler's brand, and it's called Dark Matter. If you're into fountain pens.
What was that brown ink that's really crazy expensive?
There's a couple. There's one that's very popular, but the one that I have it's actually a Mont Blanc ink that was it was more money than I wanted to spend on an ink. I'll put it that way. It was like $80 or something for a bottle like the size of like a small soda can. But it's a beautiful ink. I don't use it. I need to use it, but it's so expensive. I feel guilty every time I use it. But there's also a brand that I've given away as gifts to some of my friends. It's Stockyards brown. It's kind of a leather brown that is really quite nice. It was done in commemoration of the Fort Worth Stockyards. So if you used it, you know. So yeah, if there's any brothers out there who are interested, feel free to leave a comment. Tell us what your obsession is. Tell us what's really going on in your obsessive nerd life, and start a conversation in the comments below. Shout out to the people who left comments on our last episode. We had quite a few. I saw at least one on Spotify that I responded to. I'm trying to get out there and respond to comments on the social media scene, but I don't know where everybody's getting all their podcasts. So I'm gonna try to be more diligent about that moving forward.
Yes, tell us your comments on the new Superman movie and how much you like it.
Oh my gosh, that'll be nerd episode for next week. So
that'll be a whole episode.
That'll be a whole episode.
It's a bonus episode. Evve by himself.
Evve ranting about the virtues and
the virtues of the Superman movie and why sugar does not belong in green beans.
What about raisins and potato salad?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Don't start the picnic controversies. So. Well, the next segment we wanted to talk to you about today is something that we did recently. Fort Worth 148 recently had a solstice celebration lodge to commemorate the summer solstice. It was a huge success for us. We really kind of Started planning it, I think, just after the winter solstice, and we kind of had the idea to have a mirror image lodge moment that
Yeah. Shout out to Hillcrest Lodge. They kind of originated the idea with their Winter Solstice Lodge, and a bunch of us from 148 went over there for the Winter Solstice Lodge, and on the way back discussed the idea of having a sister event to that one for the summer. In the thought was is that it would be kind of a like we would go and see them in the winter, and then the guys from Dallas would have an opportunity to come to God's country, aka Fort Worth, in the summer for the summer solstice lodge, and we kind of went from there.
Yeah, and it really kind of grew into this really passion project that we all had. I mean, we all kind of like from the moment we had this idea, it was like, oh yeah, this is something we want to do. And then we brought it back to lodge leadership, and suddenly they were on board with it, and they were willing to kind of take the ball and run with it. And we really kind of came up with a really dynamic event. I think it was, if you were there, you know that it was very solemn. There was a lot of Masonic education. 5 different speakers gave 5 different perspectives on Freemasonry and some of the tenets that we hold dear. It was a Master Masons only event, and it was geared educationally in that regard. But it ended up, I don't know, I walked out at several moments feeling chills. It was really, really amazing.
I think the main thing about it is the reason that we walked out of there with the chills and stuff like that in our different perspectives was because we each were able to take something different from it. I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to Masonic education, I kind of take the perspective that we all, when we're looking at, say, for instance, we're looking at a symbol, or we're looking at something from the monitor, we all have a different perspective on it, and it's important that we share our perspective. So it was interesting to see, like, the speakers presented something that they had prepared, and then after the Solstice Lodge and in the weeks following, we were hearing from people that said, hey, I thought about what this person said, and here's my take on it. I think oftentimes when we talk about Masonic education, it feels like a lot of guys think that it's the only interpretation is this. Whereas as learned men, we should be able to have conversations with each other and go, this is what I think this means. What do you think? And then if somebody else says, well, I think it means this, to have that conversation and go, I didn't think about that perspective. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. And that might lead you to your next kind of self-selected, your self-selected choice of Masonic education. I think that's kind of important.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, one of the things that we wanted to do, though, because we recognize that these sorts of events at 148, we do a lot of events, I think, for lodges. We're a pretty active lodge. I mean, we have our annual Black Tay Gala that we do every kind of winter, spring-ish.
Pi Day, if we can do it.
Yeah, it's usually February, March timeframe. It's to commemorate our Masonic Lodge's birthday. We also have a family day every year, and that kind of has taken different forms over the years. It used to be over 4th of July, but last year we decided to kind of do a big holiday / Christmas party event, which was a huge success. It was off the chain. We have done Masonicon. We have done now this solstice celebration.
Warden's retreat before.
We do our Wardens and leadership retreat every year. This will be our 2nd year, so I say every year.
Well, that's a different event. We used to do the Wardens.
That's right. I'm conflating.
Wardens retreat, and then last year was the first year that we did the Lodge Summit. This will be our 2nd year for the Lodge Summit.
Yeah, the leadership retreat the Wardens retreat used to be when they held the Lodge leadership training in Corpus Christi. We used to go down there every year, and that was kind of a big event that we did. We got an Airbnb and hung out there with spouses and family members and all that stuff, and it was a great time. since they haven't been having that in Corpus Christi, we wanted to find a new way to do that. And I think that's where we repurposed this.
It is back, and it's during the Lexington Agreed is during OLT again. They're just not hosting at the Omni, which made it really convenient.
Yeah, the Omni was that great opportunity there on the beach to stay there.
OLT at the temple now, so
yeah, which makes it a little bit more convenient for us to get it there. But anyway, this new lodge leadership summit that we have every year out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, at an Airbnb ranch is kind of spectacular, I have to say.
Well, and just to kind of clarify, even though we're calling it, we changed the name to the Lodge Summit because we felt like Lodge Leadership Summit, it made it sound like it was only for people that were in leadership. We're purposing the Lodge Summit to be a chance for brothers to get together and for us to have a weekend to discuss what I call family business, which means that we're going to have conversations about stuff that may not necessarily be happy, joy, but it's stuff that we need to discuss. I think, and this is my personal opinion, I believe that Texas lodges and lodges in general, it doesn't have to be just in Texas, need to start really having tough discussions with their brothers if they haven't already been doing that, because I'm seeing that it's strengthening our lodge and not weakening it. So that's kind of where we're headed with Lodge Summit.
Yeah, I think last year was a great event. I didn't get to spend as much time there as I would like. I had to zip down and zip back for work. But I was the limited time that I was there, I had a great time. And in fact, I stayed a little bit longer than I probably should have, in terms of staying up late, and needing to get up early in the morning. But one of the things that we wanted to do, because of all the events that we have planned, rather than it being like hey, look at us, we're amazing. We really wanted to get together in this podcast and turn it around and say, what are the ways that we did this that we can share with the listeners if they want to create an event back in their lodge, and not specific like, okay, on this day you do this, on this day you do this, but just the general big picture philosophy for any event. If you want to do it, these are the things that are going to at least get you on the road to success. And then the rest of it will kind of come together. So it's kind of an us reflecting on what we've done and how we can recreate these things around in your lodges. But also this ties back to our Masonicon conversation, because we kind of had to come back to this and have like a really look in the mirror, look at our soul kind of moment and find out, why isn't this working? Why isn't Masonicon working? Because we've had to really do some soul searching about this, because we all kind of were excited about it for the most part, but there wasn't that magic that happened in years past. And it was obvious, I think, to all of us. And so that leads us to the first thing that we kind of realized is that in order for an event to work, your lodge has to want it. It has to be for your lodge. Any event you're doing needs to be done for your lodge. If you're doing it because you want Texas Masonry to turn out and come support you, or you want your local city or the local region like the DFW Metroplex or the Houston metro area, or Austin, San Antonio, wherever you're at in Texas, if you're hoping that your entire community turns out for you, I think you're doing it with the wrong intention in mind to begin with. It needs to be for your lodge first. And if other people want to participate, that's great, but it needs to be for you. What do y'all think about that in terms of how Masonicon shook out?
Well, with both Masonicon and the Solstice Lodge, I think it's important to say that, like, the folks that had the vision for Masonicon are still around, but I think what we discovered is that we were relying on them to kind of keep the fire going. And so that's where we kind of came up with this idea of, your lodge has to want to do it. So if you've only got like maybe 2 or 3 guys that are really into this, it may not be as successful as if you have more of your guys in the lodge that are into this. So like, for instance, with the Solstice Lodge, I know that on that ride back from Hillcrest, it wasn't just me and it wasn't just you saying, hey, we should do this. I think at one point it was the entire car. There was like 6 of us in there that were like, yes, we need to do this. With that being said, it's going to be important to know that when you are wanting to do some sort of event, know that your lodge also needs to be a place where your lodge members feel free to come to. And when I say lodge members, I'm not talking about like your worship master, your senior warden, your junior warden. This can be the most brand new EA that you have, that they feel comfortable coming to the lodge and saying, hey, I have an idea. What do you think? Because honestly, I think some of the best ideas come from the most unexpected places. So it's important that the lodge be a place that not only allows for those voices to be heard, but also fosters that idea that, hey, if you've got an idea, bring it before the lodge and let's discuss it.
Absolutely.
Never know what the skills are, what they have access to, what they've done in the past. We've got 2 members that are involved in live music. Well, 3 younger members that are involved in live music. Very talented musician. Can't go into details about outing them. They're not master masons yet, but take advantage of your resources too. You might have an EA that's done a major event before that has exclusive access to a perfect venue. You never really know.
Yeah, you don't know unless you create an environment where everyone feels like they can become involved and their excitement can add to the excitement, even if it wasn't part of that. Like in our core group of people that were driving back from Hillcrest, there were like 6 or 7 of us in that party bus, I guess. And we were having a great conversation, but it ended up turning into this. We basically planned the event right there. But when we got back and threw it out to the larger lodge, suddenly we got people coming out of the woodworks expressing excitement about it. It wasn't just us in that car. Suddenly it became the entire lodge's excitement.
And I know that we had discussed this before, is the idea that what we're also saying is when we say your lodge has to want to do it, your lodge has to want to do it for your lodge. Do not plan an event thinking that, oh, we're going to invite all of Texas to this and all of Texas is going to be interested in it, because 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. And it's going to put a damper on what you want to do.
You'll get 3 guys.
Yeah, you'll get 3 guys. So at this point, what we're saying is that if you come up with an idea and your lodge is into it and you execute it and only people from your lodge show up, that means that it was successful because you had guys from your lodge show up to something that your lodge wanted to do. It's extra when you have guys from outside of your lodge show up to your event. Of course, invite guys and things like that, but your measure of success should not be how many people from outside of the lodge came to my event. Your measure of success should be, did my guys at my lodge enjoy the event?
Absolutely. Which segues beautifully into our next point. So we've got point number 1 is do it for your lodge, and your lodge, make sure it's your primary audience. Our point number 2 is don't expect 100% involvement from your lodge. Not everybody's going to be excited about it.
No.
There's going to be, and they might still be excited about it, but they have to work or they can't participate, or it's on a day or a time that's not convenient for them. I used to work on Saturdays, and so any Saturday event for me was a no-go. Now my schedule is such that Saturdays are opportunities for me.
Or somebody has to be in bed by 10 o'clock. And if this person is listening to this podcast, he knows exactly who I'm talking to.
He's bald and has a beard.
You just mentioned about, I don't know, 50% of
you just said
Lodge 148.
And you just talked to masonry.
Yeah.
I have an Irish last name.
So yeah, 100% of your lodge isn't going to be excited about it.
Well, after the event, when it's a great success, they'll be more excited about it and upset they missed it. And next year they're going to be on board, ready to help.
And I think that that's one of the things that we've seen in with the summer solstice lodge is that suddenly once it went off, it really kind of generated some excitement in the lodge. And we got a lot of people saying coming up that weren't able to attend or weren't really excited about it and were just like, meh.
Yeah.
And then they heard about it and then they're like, wow, I missed out on a really great event.
I wasn't super excited about it, honestly. It was more about being at the temple with my brothers on Friday night. It was Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being in that building at almost midnight is insane. The building's haunted. It's definitely haunted.
Listen, let's not talk about Dr. Cook, but the one thing that I would say with the involved 100% involvement is if you are looking at putting together an event, in your mind, you really need to start kind of getting yourself prepared for at least a 3-year commitment to putting something together, because statistically what you see is either after 3 years, either it's there to stay or it's already starting to wane off and it's time to
let it die.
To let it die.
Yeah.
And I think we had discussed this earlier, is that some people are afraid to let things die because they feel like it's a failure. Well, maybe it served a purpose for the lodge for that particular time, and that purpose is no longer there. So it's okay for programs to go to the great beyond. It's perfectly fine.
Absolutely. And I think that leads us into point number 3. So point number 1 is do it for your lodge. If point number 2 is don't expect 100% involvement, especially the first year. Point number 3 is it's going to take you several times for it to get smooth. Whether it's an annual event, whether it's a weekly event, even if you think about a new worshipful master going into the East, no worshipful master that I've ever seen's first meeting, including my own, goes 100% smoothly.
57 minutes stated, just saying.
It was fast. That's absolutely a success there. But like everything takes a little while to get used to it. The logistics, making sure you know who to contact, who to reserve this with, how to schedule that. It's always going to be a little bit of a growing thing. Whenever we started doing our Black Tie Gala at the Fort Worth Club, it took us a little while to get that. But this year,
City Club.
Excuse me, it was the City Club, not the Fort Worth Club. But by this last year, it was basically like plug and play last time.
It is almost turnkey, and we do have to shop every year just to compare prices. But I mean, they're always within a few dollars of the same price of everybody. We've got 3 major clubs in Fort Worth. City Club, we love. They work great with us. But yeah, we just tell them how many, what time we want. It's within a couple $100 of the same price every year. It's the hardest part's the contract, because who in the lodge wants to sign the contract? Well, the junior warden's booking it, so.
Absolutely. So it'll take a little bit to get it perfectly smooth, but once you kind of get the I's dotted and the T's crossed, it kind of its own inertia will keep it going a little bit.
Well, and I think it's important to, like, for instance, if we're talking about the Solstice Lodge, of course, we had a timeline and a time frame for it, and we knew that we were going to be doing these particular things. And I have my notes, that I was writing as we were actually doing things as far as timing and all that. I know that the Solstice Lodge this year, or I should say for 2026, is going to look somewhat different from what it was this year, and that's okay. It's an evolving process. The Solstice Lodge, should we do it for year number 3, is going to look different from year 2 and year 1. But at year 3, that's when instead of changing out, instead of changing out transmissions, the only thing that you're doing is you're adding fresh oil to these particular places. It's not a major overhaul, but it's tweaking those fine things so that honestly, by year 4, it should be turn the key and go.
Well, one disagreement on this year was pre-activities.
Yeah.
I love fellowship. I'm looking, hey, let's have dinner somewhere beforehand. You mentioned bring the wives, and it's trying to figure out somewhere on Friday night where, well, here's the other issue, scalability. Anytime you're dealing with Freemasons, you don't know if 5 are going to show up or 50 are going to show up. So unless you're pre-selling tickets on RSVP, which we just don't do that, you don't know. So we ultimately ended up not doing anything beforehand. We kind of independently went different places, but I think next year we need to work on that. And
No, absolutely. And everybody out there in land that's listening to us, when somebody at your lodge asks for an RSVP, they're not asking you because they're just trying to make more work for you. They're trying to make things easier for you. So if you ever get asked for an RSVP, please do it. But I would 100% agree that the stuff that we were doing before the Solstice Lodge was still fluid and in motion. Heck, even I think a week before the event.
I think it was even the day of the event. We were texting each other like, "Where's everybody going? What are we doing?"
Putting things on Facebook and stuff like that. So now that we've executed it once, now we have our notes. As we're planning the second one, we can go, okay, let's try this instead. So the flexibility, the ability to pivot and things like that are absolutely necessary. Just know that if you're planning an event, trust you me, I know some of you guys out there listening are just like me. You have it in your mind and you're like, this is how it's going to go, and this is what I'm going to do to make sure that it happens, and then it doesn't, and that little tiny control freak that's in your head is screaming and stuff like that. Just know that you're going to have to kind of let go a little bit and be like, okay, going with the flow. Let's see what happens. You can prepare as much as you want to, but know that, especially the first time, it's not going to turn out exactly how you see it in your head.
Absolutely. Which again, it's like a perfect segue. The next point we want to commend to you is to celebrate whatever turnout you have. If you have 5 people that turn out for your event, if you have 2 people that turn out to your event, I still think that we should be celebrating those turnouts, because we did it. If we started off by doing it for our lodge, if we started off with not expecting 100% involvement, and if we know that it's going to be a bumpy road to success, that we're going to need to do this a time or two before things kind of get smooth, then a small turnout is not necessarily bad turnout. If you affected the life of 5 of your members, then you have made a positive impact with this, whatever this event is, whether it's a dinner, whether it's a holiday get together, whether it's a game night, or whether it's a Masonic education event. It's not about how many brothers attend. It's really about the quality of the connection and the brotherhood that you're creating.
Well, it's the idea that word spreads. So the more that you put into it, and the more kind of methodical you are, and making sure that you execute what you wanted, executing the vision in this kind of methodical way. If you do things with excellence at that point, like wherever you're at, if you're doing it 100% and you're doing it with excellence, word's going to get out there and people are going to be like, hey, did you hear about X, Y, and Z? And that's going to build that, buy-in with your lodge, and then potentially with people outside of your lodge. So just kind of keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. Next point, and I think that this is really kind of where we had a good, like when we were talking about looking in the mirror about Masonicon, this is the question that I think, or the point that we really had to really digest as a lodge. And that's interrogating your why. Ask your lodge, why are you doing this event? What purpose is this event filling in your lodge's life? Is it to increase your own lodge's engagement? Because remember, the first thing you need to be doing is doing this for your lodge. And so then you need to answer the question, why are you doing this for your lodge? Are you doing it because you want to increase engagement in the lodge? Are you doing it because you want more fellowshipping events and more opportunities to bond? Are you doing it to increase value? Are you doing it because you want to make sure that the lodge gets the value out of their dues that they're paying to be part of this lodge? Are you doing it to increase family connections? Are you doing it to raise money for scholarships or for another nonprofit or something like that? Make sure you are 100%, no, not even 100%, 1,000% clear on why you're doing this event. I can't speak for everybody else on our Masonicon committee and that handled this, but one of the things that I really feel like we lost sight of as a lodge over the years was the why are we doing Masonicon? How do you all feel about that?
We completely forgot why we were doing it. Just lost touch. I mean, educate brothers, give them an excuse to come together. We didn't really sway from that. We just didn't really concentrate on it. And honestly, the guys that originally did it just aren't involved anymore. So we really don't know what the plans were. So we refocused, and yeah, it didn't benefit our lodge. It's not going to do it.
Yeah. I think we kind of figured out that we realized that we were doing it more for other lodges and that our lodge wasn't really excited.
It kind of felt like we were putting this on for other lodges and for other people that didn't ask for it.
But I'll also
that's a good point. We were planning an event that nobody asked for.
Nobody asked for.
But I'll also point out, if you follow OLT, the 301 course, have you done it? The 301 course?
I haven't done the 301 course. No.
You haven't done it.
No, I haven't.
It does the same thing. It's Masonic education from Grand Lodge, and if you watch the downward trend of our Masonicon, it follows when that started. 301 is great. I encourage everybody to go to it. It's well worth the price of admission, and you get Masonic education. So.
Yeah, but I think it's important that what we were talking about there is, again, if your function that you've put together, if you go for 4 or 5 years and you haven't or are not looking at why are we still doing this, I would encourage you to do that, just like we did. But if in your heart of hearts, if you come down with the answer that I'm not exactly sure why we're doing this, then maybe it's time for you to go, I don't think we should do this anymore. If you're putting on an event, let's just be honest. If you're putting on an event and it's draining the Masonic joy from every single bone in your body, then stop doing it.
Yeah.
Like at some point, you have to go, I don't want to do this, and it's okay. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think that I was at a conference recently that was talking about nonprofit organizations outside of Freemasonry specifically, but they made an observation that I think is really, really important, is that so often our lodges, and I'm using our lodges even though they weren't talking about lodges, but our lodges are micromanaging our own demise. And it's by doing things that we are not passionate about, because we feel like we have to, and we don't have a why anymore. We have a what we're doing, but we don't have the why we're doing it. And until we reconnect with that why, I think that lodges will continue to kind of do things kind of like zombies going through the motions without really having any intellectual thought or process or passion behind what they're doing. If we're going to do these things in terms of eventing, we have to have passion behind it. If we don't, it's.
And I think it's interesting, when you're talking about this, that, and I think we had mentioned this earlier about Masonicon, where it almost felt like we were trying to be everything to all people. We cannot do that. But we have something in place. It's called a fraternity, where we have these things called lodges that are passionate about different things. Well, as a member of 148, if I'm passionate about something different from Evve, I can go to an event at another lodge where they're passionate about what I'm passionate about, and Evve has an opportunity to go to another lodge, to another event where they're passionate about what he's passionate about. So why not have these lodges around Texas that are doing kind of their own thing because they want to do it for them, and then they get kind of revved up about it, and that motion starts, and then people from around the state that are interested in that same thing are kind of attracted to that lodge once a year to kind of get their fill on whatever it is that they're interested in. That we have a fraternity, we can do that. Lodges do not have to be all things to all people.
Everybody wants to see the Lamplight Lodge. It's awesome, but it's really not that hard.
No,
Right. And like I mean, I think a perfect example of this, people getting involved in a shared passion, is the Texas Lodge of Research.
Mhm.
If you are really into research, and Masonic research especially, there is an entity that was created for the sole purpose. There are specialty lodges that form all the time, maybe not in an official capacity, but in an unofficial capacity, where brothers get together and they have whether it's a lodge around that, or whether it's a group within a lodge that gets together and does things. I know the Shrine does this really well. They have affinity groups where you can join, and you happen to be very passionate about home brewing. Lodges can do the same thing. Yeah, all these things.
Go-karts.
Right. All of these things are opportunities where we're really interrogating the why you're doing things. That was the thing that really, I think, stuck me in the, like, when we were having these conversations around Masonicon and what we need to do and how we're going to pivot. I was really one of those people that was holding on with white knuckles, hoping Masonicon was still going to go on. But then I kind of realized we don't have a why anymore.
For those of us of a certain age, just let go of the couch and stop trying to pivot.
Right. So the last thing that we would commend you after you kind of answer the question of why you're doing something is just understanding that once you get all of that stuff, those questions answered, the budget and the logistics will kind of fall together. Because once you have passion behind the event, once you're doing it for the right reasons, you have your why, you understand that it's going to be bumpy, and you have realistic expectations about what's going to be put into it and what's going to come out of it. I think that the logistics just kind of happen because people will get assigned, people will volunteer, people will the worshipful master will assign a committee. However the event ends up working out, it's going to work itself out. I mean, I know when we did the Solstice Lodge, we kind of put it together. Cody ended up being kind of like the communicator, sending out emails and making sure that people were like, timeline T-1 month. Is your for you who are presenting, is your presentation ready? Right. Here are some talking points that you might want to consider including in your talk if you haven't started planning it. T-2 weeks, we need to start, looking at refreshments. It wasn't that Cody was doing all the work. It was that Cody was just kind of like keeping up with the T-.
Right.
And that really helped out a lot, I think, with making sure that everybody was ready and low stress on the day of.
And I'll mention with the Solstice Lodge, with ours, if we're talking about budget, to be frank and honest, we did not have a budget.
That's true. We did not.
For this one. So really everything that we did was we used the resources that we had at the lodge. We used things that we already had on hand. We didn't go and buy a whole bunch of new stuff.
I don't think we bought anything, did we?
We bought a few things, but it was maybe like $10 worth of stuff.
Yeah, it was not a lot.
No, and the meal that we decided to do beforehand, it was, Dutch, and we went to a barbecue joint. So there wasn't any stuff for that one. There wasn't any expense for that. So
it ended up being what I would equate to free fun.
Yeah.
It was basically free fun for us to put together, and if we want to spend money on it next year, we absolutely probably can justify it.
We probably could, but I don't think when we say budget will come is sometimes some of your best things that you can do don't cost you a dime.
Yeah.
I mean, what are things that your guys at the lodge really want to have? They want to have time with each other. They want to do cool things. They want to do something that other people aren't doing. And they just and they want some Masonic education. you know I'm not saying that Masonic education is the end all be all, but let's be honest, lodges are there to help our brothers grow as men and as Masons, so there should be some sort of Masonic education built in there somehow. Now, of course, if you're doing like a family event or something like that, you don't have to focus on Masonic education.
Or if you're doing a fundraiser for your scholarships,
Right,
or
right.
you're doing a fundraiser for lodge bills and building committees or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's pretend like we're in a meeting right now talking about this. I'm gonna throw wrenches at y'all.
Okay, throw a wrench.
So summer solstice, June 21st, Father's Day, Sunday. What's the plan for that?
Oh, I had already kind of looked at that, and I was thinking about talking to the lodge of actually doing the summer solstice lodge the day before, because even though we're calling it the summer solstice lodge, it's symbolic. It's not literally, if like this year we were able to do it on the actual solstice, which was cool and fine. It was a Friday evening, we did all that kind of stuff. This year, summer solstice for 2026 is again on a Sunday, and it's not a good time.
Especially if we're going to have it go until midnight ish.
Yeah.
Not very many people are going to want to stay up until midnight on a Monday when they have to get up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. to go to work the next day.
No,
so we're going to play that way. I mean, I think that it's very reasonable to say we'll do it beforehand.
Friday
we'll
or
pick
Saturday
another day
before, or something like that.
But those are easy things that logistically.
Friday before is Juneteenth.
Yeah,
which in Fort Worth especially, it's a big deal.
Yeah, but we can figure out things around this. Like, this is what scheduling, long in advance is going to do. If we were in June and we were just throwing this together, that would be a problem.
Here's my next wrench. We elect officers on the 8th of June, so we don't install them until after St. John's Day. So who's really in charge and planning the event?
Well, I mean, if we're looking at
whose budget is it?
If we're looking at that one, my answer to that would be is that we have officers that are still in place for that one. So technically, they're
lame duck until basically
your lame duck officers are going to be there for that.
And that's also why we have continuity in our line, because our senior warden is going to, if the tradition should prevail, should move into, not always. Please notice, all those listeners out there who are about to become keyboard warriors and shoot me an email. I understand that it doesn't always happen this way, and it shouldn't always happen this way, but the senior warden will ostensibly become the master. The junior warden will ostensibly become the junior warden, so on and so forth. So there should be some continuity of vision there, even with problems like that.
See, this goes full circle to why we have the leadership summit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our two deacons are fully aware of what they're stepping into and what they're expected of them that month, because they have to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the things. These are built-in factors to Freemasonry. So many of the things that Brandy is describing as wrenches are really kind of things that are already built into the Masonic structure that solves the problem, solve themselves. And if we lean into that, I think that's a good thing.
So the secret to success for a lodge is long-term planning.
Long-term planning.
Absolutely.
Choose your leaders well, people. Choose your leaders well. But to recap today, if you were looking to create an event on your own, these are the tips that 148 has for you. First of all, plan for your lodge. Your lodge has to want it. You can't plan for someone else's wants or needs. You need to make sure that you are planning for reasonable expectations. Don't expect everyone, 100% of your lodge, to participate in either the planning, the execution, or the attendance. Make sure you recognize that it's going to take you a couple of times to do any event before it's 100% smooth. It might even still be bumpy then. Celebrate whatever turnout you have. If it's low turnout, that's great. You touch the people in ways that made a difference in their lives. You got them in Masonic education or money or whatever you needed. Celebrate those wins as well. Most importantly, interrogate your why. Know why you're doing an event and answer that question. Have a very firm, clear, 100% articulated answer about why is this event going to happen, and then everything else will kind of fall into place. And that comes from your leadership. That comes from the continuity that Freemasonry provides. I think that if we had kind of looked at these things before, Masonicon kind of we were in the planning stages, because we were in your pre-DIY garage whenever we were planning this.
Right.
And Cody was gracious enough to let us host our first big planning session. I think that the people in the room were kind of excited about it. But the one question we didn't really have was why.
I think going back to that one, we were all there because we wanted Masonicon. But I think if we had really talked to ourselves, we were there because Masonicon was something that was expected to be, and not necessarily something that we were all really excited about.
I think we all had different whys for it too.
Yeah.
And maybe there are certain circumstances where that would be okay, but I feel like that with an event like Masonicon, we really need it. With the summer solstice celebration, we really had everybody on the same page as to the why we're doing this.
Yeah. And I'll tell everyone out there that if you if something that we discussed here, especially with the Solstice Lodge or something like that, if that struck a chord with you and you are still absolutely lost on where to start, please comment and let us know, and we will get someone in contact with you to have a discussion with you and be a sounding board for you to kind of discuss with and kind of give you some pointers or opinions.
Yes, and to that point, you can reach out to us either in the comment section of whatever your podcast app is, whether you're getting it via Spotify, Apple. Where do you Android people get your Spotify? Okay. Wherever you get your podcast from, comment below. Let us know if you happen to be on the social medias. We are active on Facebook. We have an Instagram presence. You can also reach out to us via our website, which is
FortWorthLodge.com.
FortWorthLodge.com, excuse me. We've changed it since I was last podcasting. You can reach out to us via our website. We are always looking for new and interesting questions that we can answer for you, or that we can talk about. We've got some interesting stuff planned for our next episode, so stay tuned for that. And as always, we're excited to be able to share this Masonic journey with you. So I guess unless either three of you have something else, we'll wrap up. And I am Evve Kirkendall signing off.
I am Brandy Patton signing off.
And I'm Cody Cox signing off.
Have a great day, gentlemen.